Giridvaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let's recite the verses together here. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So welcome everybody to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we're going to read a very interesting, instructive, and ecstatic pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. This chapter is called Dhruva Maharaj Going Back to Godhead, and in today's section, Dhruva Maharaj is actually going to go back to Godhead. So this is like the crescendo of this pastime that we've been hearing for many, many days and weeks about Dhruva Maharaj's adventures. So we're going to cover texts 19 to 35 today, and our focus verse will be text 30. When we get to text 30, we'll recite the Sanskrit. Just in case I get too excited, remind me that we need to recite the Sanskrit. I forgot once. Okay, chapter 12, text 19. Got it? Okay. So I'll just, I'll say a few comments between a verse or a couple of verses. So some of you will read one verse, some of you can read two. And I'll just say something in between so that it avoids that awkward pause while the microphone is going to the next person.
How do we know to do one or two?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Okay, so first person read 19 and 20.
Okay. As soon as the symptoms of his liberation was manifest, he saw a very beautiful airplane coming down from the sky, as if the brilliant full moon were coming down, illuminating all the 10 directions. Dhruva Maharaj saw 2 very beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu in the plane. They had 4 hands and a blackish bodily luster. They were very youthful, and their eyes were just like reddish lotus flowers. They held clubs in their hands, and they were dressed in very attractive garments with helmets, and were decorated with necklaces, bracelets, and earrings.
Jai. So remember, yesterday we were hearing about how Dhruva Maharaj, he sat down in his meditation on the form of the Lord, and he was experiencing all these ecstatic symptoms. He totally forgot about his bodily existence, and in that state of consciousness, this airplane just came down, started descending from the sky. So just imagine one fine day, after performing devotional service for, many, many years, one day you're sitting down and chanting your japa, and you're getting really absorbed in the holy names. You're hearing the sound vibration, you're feeling Krishna's presence and love in his name, and your heart's melting, and you're feeling so much gratitude to the Lord and all the devotees who have helped you on the journey. And then all of a sudden, you see this bright light in the sky that gets your attention, and there's this transcendental spiritual airplane coming towards you. And then as it gets closer, you can see that the associates of the Lord are there, and they're like, hey, let's go, it's time. So this is what Dhruva Maharaj is experiencing. All right, text 21, please.
Dhruva Maharaja, seeing that these uncommon personalities were direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately stood up. But, being puzzled, in hastiness, he forgot how to receive them in the proper way. Therefore, he simply offered obeisances with folded hands and chanted and glorified the holy names of the Lord.
All right. So in that situation, you might be very astonished. You might be stunned in ecstasy, and you might forget what's the proper etiquette for greeting those personalities who are coming to take you back to Godhead. And that's exactly what happened to Dhruva Maharaj. He was just like, he didn't know. He forgot about all the standard etiquettes, and he just chanted the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Srila Prabhupada comments that was perfect. The holy name is perfect. It doesn't matter if you forget everything else. If you chant the holy name, it's all good. So yeah, that reminded me of a friend of mine that was doing the deity worship course in Mayapur with Mayapur Academy. And at the end of their course, they all got the opportunity to go actually on the altar, Radhamadhav's altar, and dress each one of them. There were 8 of them that went on there, and they would each dress one of the Sakis, Ashta Sakis. And they would be observed. They were being observed. And so at the end, my friend, he was very happy to tell, he said that he got the highest of all the marks. And I was like, wow, you must have known everything very well. He said, no, actually, my technique, I actually forgot some of the mantras that we're supposed to say while we do certain parts of the ritual. And I'm not so artistic. My dressing wasn't so beautiful as other people. But Janani Vasprabhu said that what made my service, the best is that I was simply chanting the Hare Krishna mantra the whole time. He said he was so nervous of making some offense or doing something wrong. He was just like, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Like he didn't stop chanting the whole time because he thought the holy name's going to save me. And Johnny Vasprabhu said this is deity worship. The holy name is really all we need. And we saw that also in Srila Prabhupada was installing Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, the deities in Vrindavan. He said there were so many rituals that he called all these, local priests to do. There were days of rituals, and Prabhupada had his disciples just do kirtan, accompanying while the local Brahmin priests were doing the rituals. And at the end, he told his disciples, actually, we didn't need any of these rituals. The kirtan was good enough. But if we didn't do the rituals, they would criticize us that the deities weren't properly installed, so we did it. So we see here that the holy name is it. It's the perfection of all devotional processes. It's the perfection of all rituals. Everything else is just, if we can't chant the holy name, we have to do other things to help us become purified so we can chant the holy name. But if we can chant the holy name, then nothing else is necessary. It's perfect. Okay, so the servants of Lord Vishnu who came on that airplane, they were very pleased with the reception because it was the chanting of the holy name. Okay, so please read 22 and 23.
Dhruva Maharaj was always absorbed in thinking of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. His heart was full with Krishna. When the two confidential servants of the Supreme Lord, who were named Nanda and Sunanda, approached him, smiling happily, Dhruva stood with folded hands, bowing humbly. They then addressed him as follows. Nanda and Sunanda, the two confidential associates of Lord Vishnu, said, Dear King, let there be all good fortune to you. Please attentively hear what we shall say. When you were only 5 years old, you underwent severe austerities, and you thereby greatly satisfied the Supreme Personality of the Godhead.
So what we see here that I thought was interesting is that one thing is very personal, right? The servants are coming and their names are given, Nanda and Sunanda. They're like specific personalities who were sent for this purpose of bringing Dhruva Maharaj back to Godhead. And they're saying how when you were 5 years old, we saw that. We saw that you were just this little boy in the forest by yourself, performing these austerities under the direction of your spiritual master. We noticed that. So it goes to show that whatever we do, whatever services we do, whatever austerities we undertake in our spiritual lives, great personalities in the spiritual world are observing that. You know, every time that you get up early for Mangalarti and make your way to the temple, every time you, let's say, you give up your plate of prasadam because it's the last plate and a guest came, and even though you were hungry, you gave it to a guest, or you resisted the urge to retaliate when somebody said something that made you feel uncomfortable or that hurt, or that through thick and thin, you chant your 16 rounds every day, no matter what the situation of your life is, you manage to do it. So great personalities are in the spiritual world, and of course the Lord is seeing everything, but also others are seeing these great personalities. They're like, wow, just look at that. It's Kali Yuga. The situation's so bad. They have so many things to do. They're not feeling well. Still they're getting up. Still they're doing their service. Still they're chanting. Wow, we really want to help that person. We're excited. We're just like waiting for them to be ready so that we can bring them back home. Oh, they're like cheering us on, you know, from the spiritual world. So, yeah, we see that here. And there's a lot of support. You know, it's not just us and, you know, the devotees around us. There are all these devotees on higher dimensions and that are looking out for us. So, okay, so, and he mentions here that they're satisfied, that you greatly satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so then what? Let's read text 24.
We are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the whole universe, who carries in his hands the bow named Sharnga. We have been specifically deputed to take you to the spiritual world.
So they're watching and they're observing and noting when we're ready. They're just waiting for us to be ready to go back to Godhead. You know, we still have just a little bit of anartha left, just a little lingering attachment there. You can do it. And as soon as we're ready, then they send for us. The Lord will send for us to come back home. Okay, 25 and 26.
To achieve Vishnu Loka is very difficult, but by your austerity, you have conquered. Even the great rishis and demigods cannot achieve this position. Simply to see the supreme abode, the Vishnu planet, the sun and moon and all the other planets, stars, lunar mansions and solar systems are circumambulating it. Now please come. You are welcome to go there. Dear King Dhruva, neither your forefathers nor anyone else before you ever achieved such a transcendental planet. The planet known as Vishnu Loka, where Lord Vishnu personally resides, is the highest of all. It is worshipable by the inhabitants of other planets within the universe. Please come with us and live there eternally.
So what we see here, what is being pointed out here by Nanda and Sunanda, is the rareness of achieving this goal of going back to the actual planet, to be a servant on one of the planets of Lord Vishnu or Krishna Loka, Lord Krishna. And he's saying that neither the demigods don't achieve this. The great rishis don't achieve this. Prabhupada says the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, they don't achieve this. That these spiritual planets are for the devotees. If you want to go back there, you have to be a devotee. So they're glorifying bhakti yoga as the highest yoga, devotion to Krishna as the highest level of anything, the highest level attainable. And we see in these verses in the Sanskrit, there's this word atishta, which is repeated. So in text 25, the third line, atishta touch chandra divakaradayo. So atishta means please come. And then in the next verse, text 26, it also says, atishta jagatam vandyam. So it's saying, atishta, please come, please come. You know, they're not just like waiting in the parking lot they're like going there and they're like practically taking him by the arm and please come, get on the airplane. We want to take you back. They're really like eager to get him to board that plane. Okay, next text 27 and 28.
O immortal one, this iniquitous airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by selected prayers, who is the chief of living entities. You are quite worthy board such a plane. The great sage Maitreya continued, Maharaj Dhruva was very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he heard the sweet speeches of Lord Chief Associates in Vaikuntha planet, he immediately took his sacred bath, dressed himself with suitable ornaments, and performed his daily spiritual duties. Thereafter, he offered his respectful obeisances to great sages present there and accepted their blessings.
Read one more, actually. 29 as well.
Before getting aboard, Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the aeroplane, circumambulated it, and also offered obeisances to the associates of Lord of Vishnu. In the meantime, he became as brilliant and illuminating as molten gold. He was thus completely prepared to board the transcendental plane.
Jai, thank you. So it's interesting here because you would think, I mean, how would you feel if this airplane came? You would be like, wow, let's go. But does Dhruva Maharaj immediately just jump on that airplane? No, he takes his sweet time. Why? Because he wants his consciousness to be completely right. You know, he's thinking, this is a very significant moment in my life. I don't want to just rush into it. I want to be clean. I want to be dressed properly. I want to be in total pure Shuddha Sattva consciousness. I want to make sure that I get the blessings of my superiors. I want to, you know, totally respect the airplane itself, the attendants who have come here. You know, he's very conscious and very intentional about what he's about to do. He's not acting, there's no passion. There's nothing like, wow, I'm finally going to achieve the goal of my life. Let me do it. It's very, very conscious. So, so he goes, he takes a bath, he puts on clean clothes, he prepares his body, he prepares his mind. And also we see his humility because it seems like there are others around because he's going to take blessings from great sages that are present there. So he's not alone. He's among. So imagine this airplane comes for you and it's coming only for you. It's not coming for others. So you might become a little bit proud thinking, wow, I'm so special. I'm going back to Godhead and they all have to stay here. I'm clearly the most advanced person of the group here. But Dhruva Maharaj didn't think that. He thought, oh, well, somehow by the mercy, the causeless mercy of the Lord, I'm able to go back to Godhead. But it's actually by the grace of these sages, my guru, the sadhus here who have helped me and supported me, and nothing is possible without their blessings. So I need to go and take their blessings. And that he did. He went to each one, paid his obeisances, asked, please bless me to make this journey. Please bless me to continue an eternal life of service at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So he didn't, he was humble. So even in his glorious departure to Vaikuntha, he was so humble. He never once thought that, oh, how great I am. And then also, before getting on the plane, he worshiped the plane. And someone might think, well, why would you worship a plane? It's just a thing, right? Like when you get in your car to drive to the temple, do you worship your car first before getting in it? So maybe we should. According to what Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, he says, as Lord Vishnu is worshipable, so also are his associates, his paraphernalia, his airplane, and his abode. For everything of Vishnu's is as good as Lord Vishnu. And then he says also that a Vishnu temple within this world, so right here, the temple that we're sitting in, Radha Kalachandji's temple, is also completely different from the material world. It's not a part of this material world. So right now, we're not in the material world. We're in the spiritual world. And because the temple is different. It's different, completely different from the material world. Prabhupada continues, as soon as we are in a temple, we should know very well that we are situated differently from the material world. In the temple, Lord Vishnu, his throne, his room, and all things associated with the temple are transcendental. The three modes, Sattva gun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, have no entrance into the temple. It is said, therefore, that to live in the forest is in the mode of goodness, to live in the city is in the mode of passion, and to live in a brothel, liquor shop, or slaughterhouse is in the mode of ignorance. But to live in the temple means to live in Vaikuntha Loka. Everything in the temple is as worshipable as Lord Vishnu or Krishna. So that's something we should always remember when we come to the temple. We're coming to the spiritual world, and this place is non-different from Vaikuntha. Everything in the temple is as worshipable as the Lord of the temple. So it's a very special place, and we need to behave ourselves very carefully and with humility and devotion and fully conscious, like Dhruva was fully conscious and having that realization of the situation and the spiritual quality of everything. Okay, so let's go on to text. All right, so, another thing, wait, before we get to that, I remembered. Before we get to that, there's another interesting that happens in text 29 is that it says, in the meantime, he became as brilliant and illuminating as molten gold. That means that his body also transformed, because before that he had a material body. But at this moment, he's about to go to the spiritual world. So material body doesn't go to the spiritual world. Generally, the soul has to leave the body, and then the soul manifests the spiritual body, which is your eternal Siddha Swarup, your eternal Swarup, in which you serve Krishna in a certain relationship. What happened with Dhruva's form is that it transformed, like his current form just transformed into a spiritual form so that he could board that spiritual airplane. So what we're seeing here is that devotees don't die the way ordinary people die. And there's a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that says that Ayur harati vai pumsam udyan astan chayan aso tasyarte yakshano nita utamashloka vartaya. That with every rising and setting of the sun, the duration of life is diminished, except for one who is always hearing the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what a devotee does. Devotee is always hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, talking about Krishna, chanting the holy names of Krishna, serving Krishna. So that means that the days are not diminishing our lives, which means that we have an eternal life. Our lives are eternal. So what is the sense in which our lives are eternal? We're seeing here with Dhruva Maharaj. And Prabhupada's going to elaborate this more on this point more in text 30. So let's read the Sanskrit for that. Tadotana pada putro dadarshanta kamagatam mrityor mudni padam datva arudo hadbhutam griham. Please chat. let's do the word for word together. Ta-da, then, together. Ta-da, then. Uttanapada of King Uttanapad. Putra, son. Dadarsha, could see. Antakam, death personified. Agatam, approached him. Mrityo Murdni, on the head of death. Padam, feet. Dattva, placing. Aruroha, got up. Adbhutam, wonderful. Griham, on the airplane, which resembled a big house. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, AAC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is a very dramatic, epic, mind-blowing translation. When Dhruva Maharaj was attempting to get on the transcendental plane, he saw death personified approached him. So remember I was saying that devotees don't die, but death is coming. Death personified is coming to get him. Now let's see what he's going to do. Not caring for death, however, he took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of death, and thus he got on the airplane, which was as big as a house. Amazing, right? Just see how brave, just see how fearless Dhruva Maharaj was at the time of his death. And actually, death personified, the reason that Dhruva Maharaj could put his foot on the head of death was because when death approached Dhruva Maharaj, he wasn't coming to kill Dhruva Maharaj, he was coming to offer his obeisances to him. And so death personified came, approached Dhruva Maharaj, and put his head down. Like this, right, near the airplane. And then Dhruva Maharaj, he used it as a step, as a stepping stone. He just stepped on the head of death and stepped onto the airplane. Amazing, right? Okay, let's hear Srila Prabhupada's purport here. Somebody please read the first paragraph.
To take the passing away of a devotee and the passing away of a non-devotee as one and the same is completely misleading. While ascending the transcendental airplane, Dhruva Maharaj suddenly saw death personified before him, but he was not afraid. Instead of death giving him trouble, Dhruva Maharaj took advantage of death's presence and put his feet on the head of death. People with a poor fund of knowledge do not know the difference between the death of a devotee and the death of a non-devotee. In this connection, an example can be given. A cat carries its kittens in its mouth and it also catches a rat in its mouth. Superficially, the catching of the rat and the kitten appear to be one and the same, but actually they are not. When the cat catches the rat in its mouth, it means death for the rat, whereas when the cat catches the kitten enjoys it. When Dhruva Maharaj boarded the airplane, he took advantage of the arrival of death personified, who came to offer him obeisances. Putting his feet on the head of death, he got up on the unique airplane, which is described here to be as big as a house, Griham.
Thank you. Yeah, so Prabhupada gives this amazing analogy that makes it very clear. Has anyone ever seen a mother cat carrying its kittens? She picks them up by the back of the neck. And if she sees that they've wandered off and they're in danger, she'll pick them up in her mouth. She goes like that. And then she carries them. Has anyone ever seen a cat attacking a mouse? It's brutal, right? She's like that. And not only does she'll catch the cat and then catch the mouse and then let him go, and then she'll pounce on him again and let him go again, and she's play with him like that. She's enjoying, like, just terrorizing the poor little mouse. And the mouse is like, you can see it, its heart, beating a mile a minute, and it's like frantically trying to get away, but it can't. And it's just terrible. It's like horrible. You just want to get out of the cat and leave the mouse alone. So the mouse is so afraid. But the same cat, when it's handling its kittens with the same teeth, those same sharp teeth, but it picks the kittens up so gently and it takes them to safety. So in the same way, when a devotee is afraid, when a non-devotee is dying, when a person who's not in Krishna consciousness, who hasn't practiced bhakti, is leaving their body, they're very afraid, right? Their heart's beating, they're screaming, they're fearful, they may be crying, or sometimes they're passing stool because they're so afraid. It's very traumatic. And it appears, but for a devotee who has practiced Krishna consciousness and has come to that state of Krishna consciousness, they're also, it looks so superficially, it looks like they're dying. It looks like they're also dying, just like everybody else in the world dies. Just like it looks like the cat has its teeth clamped onto the kitten, but no, the mother cat's taking the kitten to safety. In the same way, death personified is actually assisting the devotee in the seamless progression of their devotional service. They were serving Krishna throughout their whole lifetime here in this world, and they're just going to continue that service in the spiritual world. And death is just coming to usher them back to the eternal realm where they can now perform their service without any encumbrances, without any impediments. Without a body holding them back, without a material mind disturbing them. They can just totally serve Krishna unlimitedly. So death actually comes in the same way that liberation, approaches a devotee and with folded hands, how can I serve you? Death personified also comes to a devotee and says, I'm here at your service and I've come to take you to Krishna. And when the devotee sees that, the devotee is very ecstatic. The devotee welcomes that, like, wow, this is it. My time to go back to the lotus feet of Krishna, back to my eternal service. So it's a big difference. All right, now in the last two paragraphs of this purport, Prabhupada's he's gonna talk about the airplane, because it's mentioned here that the wonderful qualities, that this adbhutam griham, it's as big as a house and it's very wonderful. So Prabhupada elaborates a little on that. Next person, read those two paragraphs, please.
There are many other similar instances in Bhagavad literature. It is stated that when Kardama Muni created an airplane to carry his wife Devahuti all over the universe, the airplane was like a big city, carrying many houses, lakes, and gardens. Modern scientists have manufactured big airplanes, but they are packed with passengers who experience all sorts of discomforts while riding in them. Material scientists are not even perfect in manufacturing a material plane. In order to compare to the plane used by Kardama or the plane sent from Vishnuloka, they must manufacture an airplane equipped like a big city with all the comforts of life, lakes, gardens, parks, etc. Their plane must be able to fly in outer space and hover and visit all the planets. If they invent such a plane, they will not have to make several different space stations for fuel, travel into outer space. Such a plane would have an unlimited supply of fuel, or like the plane from Vishnuloka would fly without it.
Thank you. Yeah, so most, if not all of us, have been on airplanes, and it's not a pleasant experience being cramped up in that seat, especially if you're like in the middle seat or if you're in the way back corner or something. It's just like so claustrophobic. You can't stretch your legs, you can't move, and the air's recirculated air. It's like you can't even, breathe. You don't even want to breathe properly. You don't even want to breathe. It's horrendous. You just like, let's land and get out of this contraption. But it's very different. But the Vaikuntha airplane's very different. It's big, it's spacious, it's comfortable. There are lakes, there are gardens, there are parks, there's everything on that airplane. So, okay, so now Dhruva Maharaj is on his way. Let's hear about that. Someone please read 31 and 31 and 32.
At that time, drums and kettle drums resounded from the sky. The chief Gandharvas began to sing, and other demigods showered flowers like torrents of rain upon Dhruva Maharaj.
32.
Dhruva was seated in the transcendental airplane, which was just about to start. When he remembered his poor mother Suniti, he thought to himself, how shall I go alone to the Vaikuntha planet and leave behind my poor mother?
Yeah. So Dhruva Maharaj is in the airplane, they're cruising back to Vaikuntha. There's drum roll, there's showering of flowers, it's very glorious. But Dhruva Maharaj is not thinking, woohoo, here I go. He's feeling gratitude towards all those who helped him come to this point. And he's specifically remembering his mother. It's mentioned that he remembered Narada Muni too, who was his who gave him most of his instructions. But he thought, I don't need to worry about Narada. Narada can go back to Vaikuntha anytime. I'm worried about my mother. And we remember how his mother Suniti, she was the first one. Prabhupada explains she was his Vartma Padarshika Guru, which means the guru who shows the path. Because when Dhruva was just a little boy and he got forced off the lap of his father, he went running to his mother. And his mother said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Only God can help you. And then he said, but how do I find God? How do I approach God? She said, well, I don't really know, but I know that the sages, they go to the forest to find God, so that might work for you. And so she gave him that tip, and he went to the forest, and that's where he met Narada Muni. So if it wasn't for his mother giving him that good advice, directing him towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just coming and cuddling him and patting him, and it's okay, I love you, you're a nice boy, and don't worry about what she said. She didn't say that. She said, yeah, you need someone to help you. I can't do it, but God can. So she directed him to God. She showed him the path. She started him on the path of bhakti. So he remembered her. And so she was a guru. And Prabhupada mentions here, and this is the only purport, this is the only place anywhere in Prabhupada's books or anywhere where this is the single statement that all the devotees who are opposed to Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus, they love this sentence here. This is the sentence here that says that, let's see, according to Shastric injunctions, there is no difference between Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru. And generally, the Shiksha Guru later on becomes the Diksha Guru. Suniti, however, being a woman, and specifically his mother, could not become Dhruva Maharaj's Diksha Guru. Still, he was not less obliged to Suniti. So, yeah, the point here that Prabhupada's making is that, yes, she was a woman, but specifically his mother. Prabhupada's emphasizing it's not so much because she was a woman, it's because she was his mother. Because the relationship between mother and child is so close. There's such an intensely strong attachment. There's a very strong bond there that it's hard for the mother or any parent really to be objective, in guiding their child on the spiritual path. So in the same way, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he wanted to take initiation from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his father, because his father was his main Shiksha Guru. And Bhaktivinoda said, no, I'm your father, it's better you don't take initiation from me, go to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. So that's what he did. So yeah, generally like the very close family relationships is not the best to be your Diksha Guru, because it's really hard to transcend that bodily attachment. Like even Queen Kunti, she prayed, please sever the bonds of my attachment for my kinsmen, and her kinsmen were devotees, and she was a pure devotee. But still, she felt that bodily attachment was so strong, and it was causing some restriction or slight contamination in her pure devotional dealings with her family members. So that's there. So that's the main thing. And the general principle is that, ye Krishna tattva veti se guru hai. That actually, I wanted to look at something here. That verse, it's a really nice verse this is, it's not here. I'll find it. Okay, so this is actually, I think Lord Chaitanya says this verse is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 8:128. Kiba vipra, kiba nyasi, shudra kenanai, ye Krishna tattva veta, se guru hai. So he's saying it doesn't matter whether one's a Brahmin, whether one's a sannyasi or a grihasta, whether one's a shudra, and then specifically says, kene nai. So the question is, can that person become a guru? Lord Chaitanya says, kene nai. Kene means why, and nai means not. He's saying, why not? Can this person be a guru? Can that person be a guru? Why not? And he said, anyone who knows the science of Krishna, they can become a guru. So he's specifically pointing out that the body, the class, the family, the situation that you're born in has nothing to do with it. If you know the science of Krishna, then you can be a guru. Why not? That's Lord Chaitanya. So, but then this bodily connection is very difficult to really cut and transcend. So it's typically not recommended, that a close bodily relationship. And also we see that at that time, it was significant that Suniti was a woman, because in that time period, women were not given so much spiritual education. And that's why when Dhruva came to her and asked, where do I find God? She was like, I don't know. Then try going to the forest, that's what the sages do. She wasn't able to tell him, sit down, chant Hare Krishna, follow Ekadasi, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, worship the deity. She didn't know those processes. She wasn't educated in that way, because it wasn't so much done at that time. But now we're in a different time, where boys and girls are educated in scriptural knowledge together, right? I'm teaching at TKG Academy. The boys and girls are learning, Bhagavad Gita together. They're serving together. Prabhupada talked about that these girls are as good as their brothers in preaching Krishna consciousness. So it's a different time, place, and circumstance. There are many women who have this Krishna tattva veti. They know the science of Krishna. So we're not dealing with, it's different time, place, and circumstance. And also it comes up in this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj that we need to perform devotional service according to time, place, and circumstance. So I just wanted to make that small but important point there that comes up here. And then, okay, so let's just finish reading through our verses here. There's some other, I know it's running out of time, but there's one other really amazing point that comes up. So let's read text 33. Somebody please read text 33.
The great associates of Vaikuntha Loka, Nanda and Sunanda, could understand the mind of Dhruva Maharaj, and thus they showed him that his mother Suniti was going forward in another plane.
Okay, yeah, so he was asking, what about my mother? And then the servants of Lord Vishnu, they point ahead, that look there, and there's another airplane with Suniti in it. His mother's there. Like, she's already gone. He's like, don't worry about her. She's in front. She's going to get there first. So it just goes to show that anybody who helps someone come to Krishna consciousness, they also go back to Godhead. Even if, maybe they didn't do all the processes, but Krishna's so kind. And it also shows that I lost my train of thought. It also shows that Krishna fulfills all the desires of a devotee. If there's somebody that you really care about, that helped you so much, that you have a lot of gratitude for in your spiritual life, and you really want them, maybe they're struggling in their spiritual life, but you really want them to be a pure devotee too. You want them to go back to Godhead. Krishna will fulfill that desire. And this purport to text 33 is really mind-blowing. So I'm just going to read it, even though there's not much time, because it's like really, Prabhupada is being so humble in this purport that it's almost painful. So Prabhupada writes, this incident proves that the Shiksha or Diksha Guru who has a disciple who strongly executes devotional service like Dhruva Maharaj can be carried by the disciple even though the instructor is not as advanced. Although Suniti was an instructor to Dhruva Maharaj, she could not go to the forest because she was a woman, nor could she execute austerities and penances as Dhruva Maharaj did. Still, Dhruva Maharaj was able to take his mother with him. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj also delivered his atheistic father Hiranyakashipu. The conclusion is that a disciple or an offspring who is a very strong devotee can carry with him to Vaikuntha Loka either his father, mother, or Shiksha or Diksha Guru. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, if I could perfectly deliver even one soul back home, back to Godhead, I would think my mission, propagating Krishna consciousness, to be successful. And now you hear Prabhupada speaking about himself. The Krishna consciousness movement is spreading now all over the world. And sometimes I think that even though I am crippled in many ways, if one of my disciples becomes as strong as Dhruva Maharaj, then he will be able to carry me with him to Vaikuntha Loka. Can you believe that? That's just like, Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This shows the Vaishnava humility, that we never think ourselves qualified to go back to Godhead. We always feel like I have so far to go. I have so much work to do. I have so much advancement to make. But it also shows that it's also a good impetus for us to, to go out and bring people to Krishna consciousness, to preach Krishna consciousness, to help others, to be Shiksha Gurus, to be Diksha Gurus. Because even if we're not qualified, if somebody that we somehow or other helped in their spiritual life becomes a pure devotee and goes back to Godhead, then on their strength, we can go too. So, yeah. And also this is a good impetus for parents to give their children a solid Krishna conscious training, because if you're a mother or a father and your child becomes a pure devotee and your child goes back to Godhead, they're going to take you with them. And Prabhupada says that here. So, yeah, sometimes parents, they think, I really need to ensure that my child gets a good material education, they get a good career, they make a lot of money, they get married, they are properly situated. Yes, all that's important, but even from the parents' point of view, to speak of the child's point of view, the most important thing is their Krishna consciousness. That's what's going to save them, that's what's going to save you. So that should be our top priority. Okay, and then the last two verses here, text 34 and 35. Someone can finish off here. Please.
While Dhruva Maharaj was passing through space, he gradually saw all the planets of the solar system. And on the path he saw all the demigods in their airplanes showering flowers upon him like rain. Dhruva Maharaj was thus surprised. Dhruva Maharaj thus surprised the seven planet. Dhruva Maharaj thus surpassed the seven planetary systems of the great sages, who are known as Saptarshi. Beyond that region, he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life in the planet where Lord Vishnu lives.
Dhruva Maharaj ki jai. All right, so any questions? That was a lot.
One question here. Thank you for a wonderful class. He's going to Vishnu Loka. He got the other planet.
Dhruvaloka, yeah. Same thing. Because the planet, Dhruva's planet is also a Vaikuntha planet, and Lord Vishnu also resides there. So actually it's a very special planet because it's a Vaikuntha planet that's within the material universe. But because Lord Vishnu is there, then it's Vishnu Loka, it's Vaikuntha. Also says and it's a permanent planet. When the rest of the material world is destroyed, that planet's not destroyed. So he says the permanent life on the planet in which Lord Vishnu lives, it's Dhruva Loka. And all the other planets, it's the pole star. So all the other planets rotate around Dhruva Loka. Because Lord Vishnu is there and the pure devotee is there. And we were just hearing in a previous verse that all the other planets, the rulers of the other planets, they can't approach. They're just spinning around, wishing that they could go there, but they can't go there because you have to be a pure devotee to go there. But they're circumambulating Lord Vishnu and his transcendental planet and Dhruva Maharaj, just like we circumambulate the deities or Tulsi Devi. So it's nice. We live in a universe where, we look up in the sky, and just by observing, we can observe the devotion of the personalities who govern these planets for the Lord. And we're very fortunate to live in a universe where there's a spiritual planet, that Lord Vishnu also resides in our universe. And that's the same Lord Vishnu that when the demigods have problems, right, when there are demons that are attacking and the demigods are like, what to do? They go to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma takes them to Lord Vishnu. That planet's also called Sweta-dweep. And they go there, and Lord Vishnu comes to the shore of the ocean of milk, and he talks to them and comforts them. So, yeah, we have this amazing presence of Lord Vishnu in our universe. Anything else?
So this Dhruvaloka is just in our universe, or in, like, there's just one in the whole material world and it just happens to be in our universe in this, like, time, or there's one in every universe? Or
I mean, to my knowledge, there's only one Dhruva Maharaj.
yeah.
I don't know if there's another pastime where some
Right.
other soul wanted a planet, an amazing spiritual planet, and Lord Vishnu fulfilled their desire in
Okay.
the same way. It's possible. But as far as I know, there's only one Dhruva Loka. Just to do that.
Yeah, I guess if we're getting technical, I have a lot of curiosities in that. Yeah, I guess from my understanding, these Bhagavatam stories, they're like eternal. They're happening over and over and over again. And it's not like Dhruva Maharaj just went back one time and then like Dhruva's pastime never happens again. And yeah, also the planet we're talking about is Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. It's the ocean of milk.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd assume that there's an ocean of milk, at least in every universe. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
Sometimes it's said it's an ocean of ghee, an ocean of oil, all kinds of different things.
Yeah, they're all different oceans. Avai? Also, each time these pastimes happen, they're similar. There are some slight differences. It's called kalpa bhed, that in each kalpa there's some differences. So, I mean, I wouldn't think that Dhruva Maharaj, after going back to Godhead, because when someone goes back to Godhead, they don't return again to material life, right? So I don't imagine that, in the next creation cycle, Dhruva Maharaj, after going to his permanent life in Vishnu Loka, is again going to be a little boy and get pushed off his father's lap and have material desires, and it's not going to happen.
So what about like Arjuna?
I mean, Krishna, let's see. Well, one thing is that it's not that Arjuna, that it's, we understand that it's Yoga Maya. It's by Krishna's Yoga Maya potency that Arjuna becomes bewildered. Arjuna is always a pure devotee. I'm not sure if that's the case with Dhruva Maharaj. Could be, but we don't hear that. It's explained that in Arjuna's case, it's like that. Yeah. But even when Krishna says to Arjuna that many births, both you and I have passed, you remembered, but I've forgotten, he doesn't say that he spoke the Bhagavad Gita again and again to Arjuna. He mentions that he spoke previously to the sun god. So the pastimes may be different. We just can't say. We don't know, so we can't say. But I'm just saying that they're not the same every time. Yes, Abai.
I guess this is more of maybe an observation and a question mixed somewhere. But we're told that at the point when Dhruva Maharaj is a Mahabhagavati, he's a pure devotee at this point. So we don't have any bodily attachments. So how can we understand that I'm assuming there's some spiritual aspect to it, but he has some spiritual attachment to his mother. So how can we understand this?
Yeah, because his mother helped him. It's natural. that we're going to have gratitude for those who direct us. You know, actually the Sanskrit word for gratitude is krita gya, which gya means know, to know, and krita means what was done. So it means knowing what they've done. So knowing, remembering what that person has done for me, I'm grateful. So it's a question of just consciousness, knowing what that person has done for me, whoever they were. It happened that she was his mother, right? But all of us, I mean, even to this day, I remember the person who gave me my first book, first one of Prabhupada's books. I remember that person. The first person that explained something to me in a way that really resonated with my heart, that really made me feel like, wow, Krishna consciousness is it. You know, I remember that person. I remember the moment that he said it. It was so significant in my life. So, you know, these are the people that we're going to remember when we're in our last days, and when we're on our deathbeds. You know, we're going to remember all the devotees that helped us.
I think it's really interesting point, I guess, to take that it's not that we are trying to renounce relationships and renounce we're trying to renounce our attachment to the material world, but we're trying to attach ourselves to the spiritual world, to the people that are devotees, the Vaishnavas around us. And those are good relationships. Those are good things to have that we'll remember. And it's not that Dhruva Maharaj is remembering out of attachment, material attachment. He's because she guided him towards Krishna. He's very attached to her. That way.
Yeah, we should transfer our attachment from material things to spiritual things. We should you know, when we come, before becoming devotees, we associate with so many people, with friends, family. We realize a lot of them are bad association. We need to become detached from them and transfer our attachment to devotees. We actually should be attached to devotees. We should actually pray. Like in Manashiksha, the very first verse, Raghunath Das Goswami prays, please give me attachment. What's the adjective? Please give me something, there's a word there. Intense. It's like intense. Please give me intense attachment to devotees, to Krishna, to my guru, to the holy Dham, to the holy name. Right? Yeah, I know she memorized that verse. Please give me unprecedented and excessive attachment to the Vaishnavas. So the Vaishnavas are one. So we need to be attached to devotees. That attachment is going to take us Mahat Seva Dwaram, what is it? Mahat Seva Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. That attachment to devotees opens the door to liberation. It opens the door to the spiritual world for us. So, all right, we better wrap it up. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi.
What?
Oh. Hare Krishna.